Hi there, I'm Carolyn Southwell. Today we are going to talk about tapping because I have had so many requests for this. So while somebody jumps on in the chat and lets me know when you can see me and hear me, let me just introduce what's happening here. So for 11 years I have been working with human design, and one of the things that has become very, very obvious in that time is that a person can know so much about their chart, but if they don't feel safe to be themselves, then it is for nothing, truly. Thank you for letting me know. You can see me and hear me. That is fabulous. So very early on, in the first sort of year or so of my journey with human design, it became very obvious that as a projector, I could not wait for the invitation. It was like I had all this information about human design I was feeding into my mind, but I couldn't embody it. My body did not feel safe to live what I was learning. And over time, it has just become more and more and more obvious that we have to pair a deconditioning tool like tapping together with human design, because it is so difficult for almost every single person. In fact, I can't think of a single person who is truly living their design effortlessly. Even when I go and study the charts of people who are doing fabulously well in the world, who may not have even heard of human design, there is still a need for a way to feel safer and safer in the body. So the reason that I got into tapping more than a decade ago was because I was struggling to live my design. And what you'll see on this channel is I'm not interested in just teaching you about human design. It is so important. It is so life-changing. But if we can't live the friggin' stuff, what are we doing, right? So this video is something that followers and students and readers and clients and all of you in the community, in all the ways that you consume my content, have been asking for a long time, which is for me to teach more of the stuff that I do with my one-on-one clients in a format, in a publicly accessible format. So up to this point in time, for the last year or so, I have been teaching trauma-informed tapping, which is the blend of everything that I've learned in the last decade. I'm formally trained in EFT, certified, but I have also studied deeply the work of other experts, various versions of tapping. And then I did a 2.5-year deep dive into the nervous system, which really brought in this trauma-informed layer of how do we do this deconditioning stuff using tapping, but how do we do it in a safer, gentler, more effective manner than what I was seeing from, frankly, some of my teachers and some of the people who were touted as the best EFT or other versions of tapping teachers in the world. So this video and the series of videos that are going to follow, where I've mentioned tapping in the title, is going to be all about starting to bring you up to speed on what is trauma-informed tapping, how does it help, why do I talk about it so much in the written and the video courses and the written resources that I've created. So with that beginning out of the way, trauma-informed tapping is my combination of everything that I have learned in the last 10 years related to deconditioning, and I'll explain that term in a moment if it's new to you. So in a safe and effective way, so that you can get on with living your damn design already. Yeah. So deconditioning. Let's talk about the opposite for a minute. Conditioning is what we all experience heavily in childhood, and then we continue to experience just by living as a human being in the world. We're conditioned by our society, by our culture, by our language, by our friends and family and peers and co-workers and everyone that we interact with. Now, some of that conditioning is helpful. I really like that I was conditioned how to brush my teeth, and that I was conditioned how to tie my shoelaces and how to type. That lets me write these very, very long blog posts and email newsletters to you. That I was conditioned how to drive a car. That is very useful for where I live. And There are certain things that I was conditioned and that you were conditioned to believe or to do that are counterproductive. Maybe you were taught that you have to work hard, or that job is not a job, or work is supposed to be hard, that it's not allowed to be playful, that it's not allowed to be fun, that you should do what you're good at instead of what brings you joy. There is any number of ways that you might have been conditioned to behave that runs directly counter to your energetic design as shown on your human design chart. So deconditioning is a term that is used in human design circles a lot, which is how do we find and unravel and let go of the stuff that is not a match for your design. Now, there are as many ways to decondition, like there's probably thousands of them. Like I've had exposure to a lot, and I'm sure there are more, even more that I haven't seen. But the one that I have had a lot of exposure to, a lot of training in, and a lot of experience doing is tapping. But what I found is as I worked with various tapping masters, very well known, very well respected people, very well established with decades and decades of experience in tapping, I kept finding all these holes. I kept finding all these gaps. I kept finding all these things where I'm like, this thing that you're telling me to do makes me feel bad in my body, right? We might be breaking apart some of those beliefs, but why does it feel so bad in the process? And I would look at what I was being trained to do, and then I would do that process with my clients, and my clients would have really strong, difficult reactions in their body. I'm like, isn't there a kinder way to do this? Isn't there a gentler way that we can still do deeply effective work? So that led me down a rabbit hole of understanding the nervous system better and learning what it takes to do truly trauma-informed work. So let's talk about this word this term trauma-informed. It's bandied around on the internet a lot, especially of late. And there are lots of different definitions, but let me give you my definition of how I'm using it in this context. A trauma-informed approach when it comes to tapping, and I layer this into my work when I'm teaching you about your human design in a one-on-one or a group context as well, just recognizes that every single person's nervous system is different, because you have a different energetic design. We know when we look at your chart, but I also know that you have had different life experiences to the last person I meet and the next person I meet, right? And the 100 before that and the 100 after that. So there is a recognition with trauma-informed work that everyone is a little bit different and that people need to go at different paces. One of the things that I found in tapping the way it is traditionally taught is often too much work is done in a short period of time, and there is not enough chance for the nervous system to integrate, and there is far too much overriding, right? So the reason that my tapping sessions changed in my one-on-one sessions from doing an hour's worth of tapping with people, which is what I was taught to do, to actually teaching people how to do the tapping for themselves, meant I could layer in a heap of education and I could empower somebody to do the work on their own. And we can do little bits of tapping together so they have an experience of it without frying their nervous system. Okay? So in short, trauma-informed tapping means doing deconditioning work using tapping, which is this thing, tapping your fingers on the points that many of you will know. There's all sorts of points. I'll do a video about the points. There's finger points, right? So using tapping as a way to come into the body to decondition so you can live your design, but doing it in trauma-informed, safe, gentle, yet effective way that meets you where you're at. Now, in the weeks and months to come, I am going to finally start offering to the public for the first time trauma-informed tapping classes, where I'm going to take what I teach my clients one-on-one and I'm going to teach it to you in a group. Now, there's two main benefits to this. One, the cost will be lower than my one-on-one fees. And two, you get to play with other people at the same time. One of the biggest challenges that my clients have is they often are like, they don't have a sense of connection to anyone else, right? So they get to be in a in a kind, present, loving space with me, but they don't get to see that anyone else who's doing the work. They don't get to be connected with other people who are like, are you struggling with this? What did you learn? How? So the point of bringing people together in a class is you can see that you're not alone. And it will bring the cost down so we can all come and play together. And maybe there's a sneaky third thing in there, in that I love teaching. So I get the joy of teaching a whole class all at once. But if you want to be the first, one of the first to know about the class release dates when they come out, the very first group of people I'm going to tell are the people on my email list. So I have put in the video description here a link for my email community. So jump on there if you know that you want to have an option to be able to join that class. And if you're like, Carolyn, I can't wait till then, just teach me one-on-one how to do this trauma-informed tapping process. Sure thing. Just check out my calendar, see when the next spot available is. I've put a direct link for their trauma-informed tapping session in the video description. And you can always find all of the things that I've talked about and anything else that I offer. You'll be able to find it somewhere on the website, carolynsouthwell.com.